welcome everyone to another Planetary music project. Boy, we've got a good program and a lot more coming up. I'm Jefferson Glassie, Chief Spiritual Dude of the Planetary Gig Society, whose mission is creating unity through music, or as I like to say, making connections through music with the intention of bringing peace. And I am happy to introduce over here or over there, Tara Linhart, excellent partner in Planetary Music Project, traveling all over the world, and we are bringing you conversations with musicians about the power of music, musical communities in various parts of the world. Tara, where have you been recently?
Well, we just got back. I was traveling with Ian Poole, and we were working in Bhutan, having a great time, inspiring and educating people in the Kingdom of Bhutan. And then we
Wow.
stopped for a bit in India, met some great musicians there, which will be in an upcoming episode. So stay tuned.
Yep.
He's playing bluegrass in Kolkata, and and then. I'm back here briefly, and then I'm heading off to lead another arts and culture tour, music arts and culture tour, of course, to Nepal soon. People can always let me know if they're interested in one of those. But
And
you've
I would, and I, yeah, I want to just give a plug for because I did that tour 2 years ago, right before the pandemic. It was amazing, sort of life-changing. Tara does a great job, music, arts, culture, trekking. We had a fabulous time playing with musicians there. It was great. I would recommend that for anybody who really wants to see a slice of Nepal.
Yeah, if anyone's interested, you can just go to musicartsadventures.com and see details about that, and all sorts of facts, and email me for information. Get on my email list if you want to be notified when the next date comes up. But you've been doing a lot of traveling too and meeting a lot of cool people. What about that?
Oh my gosh. Well, just the short story. I had this idea. Why don't we go to Greece and see if we can find or start up a music ashram? Of course, that was semi-insane, but it got us on a plan and ended up going to Greece for a couple of weeks. But before that, because I went to Greece with a good friend, fabulous young man, musician, John David Gorman, JD. And he did the video, did the sound. We had a great time there in Greece. Tell you more about that. But we decided, hey, maybe JD and I could go to see Michael Kott, the inspiration for Michael in Victor Wooten's book, The Music Lesson, and Spirit of Music. And so we went to Sante Fe, and Michael introduced us to some great musicians that we talked with, interviewed. It's a beautiful, amazing, tight music community in Sante Fe. We had a great show. I'm looking forward to telling you all about it. And after that, we went to the Navajo reservation to see Verdell Primo, two-time Grammy Award winner. Michael and Verdell are both involved in some book and audiobook projects I have going on. So yeah, Tara, this was a great time. I feel in some ways, part of you and me were inspired by Anthony Bourdain and doing shows about food. And we're like, why can't we do shows about music? So here we are. It's the first time I felt really like we were, going around seeing people in that vein of a program. So I know you watched it. We're gonna show you what we've got here. We did spend a little bit of time with Michael. We interviewed a musician named Robin Oxley at an open mic jam type thing in downtown Sante Fe. And then we interviewed Westin McDowell, went up to Frogville Studios, an amazing recording studio with a bunkhouse up above the second floor where bands could come and stay a week or whatever. That's a fabulous place. Michael lives right near there. And then in the old San Miguel Chapel, one of the oldest chapels, I think, in North America, and had a great discussion with her there. Laurianne Fiorentino is who we talked with there. So
And that chapel is actually turned into somewhat of a music venue, right? So it's not just doing its chapeling as a,
Right.
it's becoming a spiritual place in terms of music now as well, right?
Yeah, it's got a great sound. And Michael and Laurianne did a couple of programs. So we're going to touch on that too. So,
And I
uh,
love that archtop guitar. That was awesome. So
oh,
definitely got a great bunch of instruments. You got some cello in there, you got some guitar, you got some different styles represented. So let's let those people talk. Let's see what you did.
let's let it roll. All right, here we go. Planetary Music Project from
Hey, here we come.
Santa Fe. All right. Namaste. Welcome to Santa Fe, New Mexico. We are here as part of the Planetary Music Project to interview musicians and talk with them about the musical community here in Santa Fe. I'm Jefferson Glassie, Chief Spiritual Dude of the Planetary Gig Society, and our friend Michael has set us up with some really cool musicians to talk with about the music scene here. It's such a great little town. It's just sunset here. It's beautiful. We were up on the plaza looking around, people busking, skateboarders. It's just a beautiful little town. And we're hoping to go over to Angelo's world famous cocktail lounge a little bit, where they're having an open mic tonight, and see who we can find. Alrighty, come along.
Introduced to three important people in music in Santa Fe. Robin, the guitarist.
Hey everybody, here we are. I told you we'd be coming up here to Evangelos, right on West San Francisco Street?
West San Francisco and Galisteo.
Right, and this is Robin Oxley, who is a friend of Michael's. Michael said, you gotta come in here and interview Robin. So here we are. You're setting up for the open mic, aren't you?
Well, it's not really an open mic, it's more of a jam. And it's sort of a jam to replace the jams that we've lost since COVID.
Oh.
So we used to have a jam over at a place called El Farol. That was called the Canyon Road Blues Jam. And Tone Forrest ran that. And it was every Tuesday night from 8 o'clock until 11. And just about every musician in Santa Fe, that played blues was there for sure.
So this is kind of a blues orientation of this?
No, we've kind of expanded it here. We kind of play everything. I allow a little bit of everything. Country, rock, alternative, blues, whatever people like to play. But what I really like to do is I try to get different musicians together.
Oh, that's so great.
And build little bands out of different musicians.
Yeah, so we came here because of Michael, and I have never been to Santa Fe, but it's an amazing town, and just what is it about the Santa Fe music scene? I mean, how long have you been here, and how did you get into it, and what kind of characterizes this community of musicians here?
So I'm a little bit of a late bloomer. I didn't learn how to play guitar or sing until I was in my late 30s.
Well, I just started guitar when I was 62. So.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
You're never too old. Never too old.
No, never too late.
And so I was living in Dallas, and I ended up moving here about 6.5 years ago. And for the first 2.5 years, I was a hermit, just sitting in my apartment. And finally, I had a friend that got me to that Canyon Road Blues Jam.
Oh yeah.
And I was like, well, this looks fun and exciting. So I went ahead and brought my guitar and met people and started playing with them. And pretty soon they invited me to another jam. There's one that happens at Tiny's Restaurant every Sunday. And so I went to that and met even more people. Then they showed me someplace else to go. And it's kind of like this little, trail of places to jam and open mics and that sort of thing. And pretty soon I knew most of the musicians in Santa Fe.
Wow.
And yeah,
So it's not a huge community like
it's
New
not
York
a
or something.
huge. Pretty much all musicians know each other here in Santa Fe.
Well, it's such a special place, and Michael, of course, is special. And we were just talking about how
Yeah.
I met Michael through Victor Wooten and the music lesson book and Vic's camps, and you met Michael, but you'd read the books.
I'd read the books years ago, back when I was living in Dallas,
Yeah.
and I knew who Victor Wooten was, but I didn't know who this Michael was in the book. And then I moved here, and talking to people and making old friends in the music community, we started talking about the book, and they said, well, you know, Michael, the guy in the book, lives here, right? And then I finally met him about 2 years ago up at Frogville.
J.D. and Jefferson traveled to Santa Fe, New Mexico, and somehow they found their way to Frogville.
I'm Jason Reed. I'm the head engineer here at Frogville Studios and also at Tumbleroot Brewery and Distillery. And I just wanted to talk a little bit about the music community here in Santa Fe and how great they are and how supportive of each other they are. Anytime any one of us has a problem, I had a problem that actually turned out to not be so serious. My ear was plugged up, basically. And somewhere on social media, bass player Justin Bransford suggested, let's do a benefit for Jason and get him some really good hearing protection because he always takes such great care of us. And the community just came together. Even Tumbleroot donated a portion of their proceeds for that night to me, and I had only worked there for a month or something, and the whole community came together, and I ended up with great hearing protection and way more than I needed just to get that. And I see this happen not just for me but for lots of people in the community, and it's just really wonderful.
Whenever anyone has medical issues or they're going through surgery or whatever it is, the musical community in this town gets together and puts on a benefit. They donate their time and are happy to do it.
Westin, the songwriter,
just waiting for you back in your backyard. You'll see castles of Spain through your window pane. Back in your backyard. You can go to the east, go to the west. Someday you'll come. We'll be at heart back where you started from. You'll see that happiness lies right under your eyes. Back in your backyard. Back
Hey everyone. So we are in Santa Fe, as you know, and we're at the El Rey Hotel, Motel, Lodge, whatever. And it's a beautiful place. We've had a beautiful day. We've been visiting with Michael. We went up to Frogville Studios, and man, what a community, musical community down here. And Michael has introduced us to Westin McDowell right here, fabulous musician, and we're going to talk a little bit about the music community in Santa Fe. Westin,
right.
thanks, man.
Oh, my pleasure, Jefferson. Thanks for having me. Thanks for finding me.
So we've already been having a good conversation already, and just to kind of, get started from the same place. So where are you from, and when did you start playing music, and how is that morphed, or the trajectory into the music scene that you're in here in Santa Fe?
Oh man, it's an interesting thing. I mean, just being in the state of New Mexico is like a little bit like being outside of a lot of cultures. So you go to certain cities and they have an established culture, like New York has a tradition of many musics, and New Orleans and Santa Fe and the state of New Mexico has some histories of music, but actually it really has a lack of history of music here, which makes it sort of an open breeding ground to create what you feel here. And so I would say the taste of people's music in New Mexico is a lot of music that was written in the 60s, the 50s and the 60s, and heavy metal is really big music in the desert out here.
Desert rock, is that what?
There's a lot of Chicano and
Yeah.
Latino bands that play. Reggae is a really popular music. But New Mexico, we kind of like borrow a lot of our aesthetics and music from the West Coast. So a lot of music I think that comes in New Mexico came from California. So we're mostly influenced
Interesting.
by the West Coast music.
Well, and your parents were musical.
Yeah,
Or
so
artistic.
yeah, both my parents. So I'm what they call a Southwestern Mutt, which means and I'm a Coyote. So I'm part Spanish. I'm a little bit Indian, and I'm mostly white, I guess you could say. And so, yeah, I have ancestors, the Trujillos and the Bacas, who came from this area. And I identify with this landscape, and growing up here, the chili and the food that is served here.
Yeah.
And I grew up in a Spanish family on my mom's side, so growing up, smelling burning tortillas. And so my mother is a folkloricist, so I grew up with flamenco, with Spanish, classical Spanish music, and mariachi music. Since I was a baby, my mom has been teaching dance, so I grew up really in a Hispanic culture on my mom's side of the family.
Wow.
And then my dad loves the old traditional jazz, Pete Fountain and the famous clarinet players from New Orleans. So I grew up with a lot of Herb Alpert and Burt Bacharach and the composers from the 60s who
Yes.
merged jazz with cultural music. And so that's kind of where so I was into heavy metal in my younger years, and then slowly kind of came around to all these cultural musics. I'm part Irish, so I love Celtic music too. So.
And you play a lot of different instruments. You even make up instruments, don't you?
Yeah.
Practically.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I played the singing saw. I played the accordion. I love the euphonium, tuba. I play a lot of piano, but I make my living singing and playing the guitar for my friends. Yeah.
I should take some lessons. I'm working at it, I tell you.
Oh yeah.
I think everybody is musical, but we kind of lose it or get convinced that we're not. A lot of people, and
Oh yeah.
growing up like you did is such a treasure to have that music around all the time, and just knowing that you can play and doing it.
Oh yeah. Thank you.
I want to be
Yeah.
Weston.
Right.
Really, just be able to get out there and play it. But it's so powerful, and it's such a unifying thing.
Right.
So what would you say about this musical culture in Santa Fe? What does it contribute to the town, the city? What do you see of it? I mean, how do you see music bringing people together, or the power of music? I mean, what does that mean to you?
Oh, thank you. Yeah, it's a when I play music, when I perform for people, I try to imagine the faces that are going to be in my audience. And so I tailor a lot of my music, drawing a lot from musics of traditions or cultures or genres. I play a lot of music from soundtracks and movies because that's where a lot of people really recognize songs as songs that they saw in movies.
Yeah.
So when I perform music, I will curate a narrative of songs. I'll go from playing an old 1920s jazz song to playing Ritchie Valens, West Coast, rock and roll, and try to tie the threads between Southern blues and rock and roll, and how jazz influenced Mexican music. And so I love to kind of like see where I can reach my audience in different ways, because it's not like I lived in Austin, Texas, and if you're not playing some popular music that comes from the 2000s or then your audience doesn't listen to you. They're really interested in what they're interested in. And being in New Mexico, I have to play to my Spanish people. I have to play to the cats who grew up like me in the 90s and play grunge style rock and roll. So it's for me, it's an interesting navigation of trying to, the communities in Santa Fe are a little dissected, like a lot of the Spanish clubs are solamente Spanish clubs, and this place, where we're at now is mostly like a hipster joint, but otherwise, in New Mexico, that's kind of one of my musical missions is to try to tie together all these people, because I want to see all their faces in the same room. And so,
smiling and being together. It reminds me of something that Michael said, sort of when you're playing music, one of the things to think about is the statement, or I bring you the healing vibrations, for I am peace. And it seems to me you're like the living embodiment of that. You want your audience and the people who are listening to you here in Santa Fe or whatever, you want them to feel the goodness, feel the oneness, the power, whatever, however you describe it.
Oh yeah, and so playing with Michael Kott, a lot of musicians will kind of hide in their genre. What I learned from Michael Kott, the great master Michael Kott, is that he, and it doesn't matter what style of music he's playing, he's channeling a vibration that comes from a deep place. So in some respects, it's not even about the genre of music that you're playing, it's that you're playing any style of music from the source of that healing and great intention. Yeah.
And I sort of feel like the musicians that we met just thus far in Santa Fe have that vibe.
It's a psychedelic place, man. There's a lot of deprivation of the senses, and a lot of artists and writers come out here for that vast space to lose yourself in. And it's amazing what kind of music comes out of, sort of, I was talking about a lack of culture, a lack of musical culture, that there is music that exists here, and it exists between the silence and the sort of diaspora of the people and the culture. So
it allows for different kinds of music to come in, and not that there's a void, but to fill in between those spaces.
Yeah, and it comes kind of naked. Musicians who come to Santa Fe expecting there to be an audience that's going to support them, sometimes they play to a living room of people who are just genuinely listening to their sound as it maybe was heard for the first time, because they're not culturally informed.
Yeah.
And so it has this wonderful rawness about it.
And another thing that Robin told us, Robin Oxley, right?
That's right, yeah.
Yeah, she said, I think that all the musicians in Santa Fe know each other.
Oh man.
Is that right?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
We don't have many venues here, so we see each other at the same venues all the time, checking each other out, you know. And
Well,
it's a small town feel here,
Yeah.
for sure.
and thanks for sharing this because, I guess part of the mission and why we're doing this in a way is music's so powerful, it can bring us together.
Yeah.
And maybe sometimes people don't think about it as much as might be nourishing for them,
Yeah.
And knowing about this musical community, this strong, powerful musical community in Santa Fe is really, I think, important and good for everybody, So we just want
Yeah.
folks to know about you all and come visit and listen to your music. We hope we get to hear
Yeah.
you play.
Oh, yeah.
We're not here too long, but hopefully
Sure,
We'll see.
yeah.
or another time, whatever.
Oh yeah, no, I'll be quite busy. It's picking up. The music's after the pandemic.
Yeah.
Places are opening up, and people are coming out in droves because they miss the medicine of music, and so I'm ready. I'm ready to give it to them.
All right.
Yeah.
Thanks so much, Weston.
Hey, thank you, Jefferson.
Really appreciate it.
So great.
This is so good.
Yeah, man.
Namaste.
All right.
Namaste.
Namaste.
Hi, I'm Julia Meeks. Welcome to the Violin Shop of Santa Fe. You'll be hearing Michael Kott on cello today.
Wow, that's so nice. Thanks for Just come in
Michael,
here.
I have one I can recommend to you.
Okay.
It has a nice sound.
I'm gonna play them all.
Oh, you are?
Yep.
Okay.
But then we go to the oldest church in America, the San Miguel Chapel, which has been there for 400 years. And Laurianne
I don't think everybody knows about this church, so could you tell a little bit about this church before we get started?
This is San Miguel Chapel. It is probably the most significant, least acknowledged historical site in the country. It is, as far as we know, an oral tradition, was built in 1610 on the original foundation, and it's been here and it's had masses up until COVID.
Wow.
And it's since, so when the Spanish came up to New Mexico from Mexico City in the 1500s, late 1500s, they brought with them some allied indigenous peoples from Mexico who wanted to come along. This church is located on the south side of the Sante Fe River, and you know the Sante Fe River is about this big.
It didn't look very big on the map.
Yeah.
We walked over it.
Right.
Yeah.
A few steps and there you are. So then on the north side is where the Spanish built the Palace of the Governors, along the north side of the plaza, and the plaza is the heart of Santa Fe. Our festivals and music, and it is the heart. Well, some places have a square. It's not the square, it's the plaza. So the Spanish settled on that side, and on this side of the river, the people settled, and the Tezcalan natives built this church.
It's just, I mean, to be here is like to be inside of, you know, living history and community that goes back with the ancestors.
Yeah, it feels like that. So outside with the corner of the Santa Fe Trail and the Camino Real, the Santa Fe Trail was built in, was kind of paved or, carved in the late 1800s, I believe. And then the Camino Real comes up from Mexico City. So it's a trade route, and it crosses right out the front steps here. And so being that the natives and the Spanish and then the local groups and intermarriages and the growth of the community where the craftspeople lived in this barrio, this neighborhood. So it's really, it has seen tragedy and glory. It has seen birth and death. It has seen storms and gatherings and pushing the Spanish out in 1680, burning the roof, killing everybody inside. And I think it's kind of, for me, it's like, say if the church was a human being. It's like a human being goes through so many changes during their lives. They have rites of passage. They have conflicts. They grow up. They get sick. They crawl around, and it's like a living presence that kind of a metaphor for the mixing and the matching and the conflict and resolution of many cultures.
Yeah, it does. It feels alive.
It's more in a process that is not ended.
Yeah.
It's not ended here.
And so we should say also that, I mean, you're a musician, an artist, a filmmaker, a technology person, at a spoken word project. People should check out your TED Talk, which was fabulous.
You liked it.
Yeah,
Oh
yeah.
God.
I mean, I got it. I don't think it's easy to get a TED Talk. I mean, that's really pretty special. And you've been, the reason that we got put in touch was our mutual friend Michael, who has, we wanted to come here and see the music community, experience the music community in Santa Fe. And he said, you have to talk to Laurianne. And I know that he and you had done a number of concerts right up here.
Right on this, right here.
Yeah, let's talk about that a little bit, because it's special, and there are videos of that too.
Right, and so I've stopped playing in bars and cafes because my brain can't process the noise and I can't hear the music and I can't play. So it's like a handicap of mine. So I have to either create a space or rent a space if I want to play. And Michael's a perfect foil and star and, person to work with for me. So we rented this space and did a show in here, and I was just so thrilled with the way the sound was and how it felt.
It sounds so great.
Yeah, I wanted to work here more, and I thought, okay, well, I'm a local artist playing original music. I have to get people in here month after month or week after week, and they're not going to eat and they're not going to hang out with their friends or drink. So the music has to have an interest.
when I'm aged. Oh, when I'm aged.
I thought, well, why don't I do something like an elemental series? And I was talking to Michael about it, and he was like, you mean plutonium and strontium? And I was like,
That sounds like
course.
Michael.
I was like, of course.
And how many elements are there?
119.
So there's 119 shows.
119
with a
shows. I
story.
was so thrilled.
I'm not that sure what the music about hydrogen would
I'll tell you.
be about.
All right.
Sounds
So
like.
here's what we did.
Yeah, okay.
So he and I just chatted about it, and he would throw out an element. Like, yeah, let's do this one. Yeah, let's do that one. Okay, hydrogen and gold, and And so what I would do is I would go and research the element, and I would create a one sheet in layman's terms about what that element is about, how many, what it's got going on, how many electrons, and it has qualities. Is it volatile? Does it bond? Is it going to blow up when exposed to oxygen? Is it
naughty or nice?
Is it heavy? Yeah. So I'd find qualities that are describing the element that you could apply to a human being. Whew.
Wow.
Right?
That's
Is it
so
blue?
Cool. Yeah.
Is it the whole bonding and volatile and all that? Those are all qualities that can be ascribed to a human. So then I would look through my own repertoire, and I would pick out some songs that I felt like either had the mood or the words or the opposite of it, and then I would pick out a couple of cover tunes that everybody knows that were, unusual, and then we had an artist from Santa Fe, a singer-songwriter who normally plays out in the venues with all the noise, and they would come here and they would do 2 songs in each set that would add a variety, and they would also be seeing what they could do with the element if they wanted to. And so when you came in the door, you got a one sheet that said, here's what tonight's show is about, and here are the qualities we're going to explore, and now here we go with the show.
Wow, that's so cool. It's so creative, and it's just kind of one indication of the creativity and the unique aspects of this music scene and community here in Santa Fe, I think.
Well, I
you're
think
not getting the ordinary stuff here.
Man, that was so cool. I loved it. I feel like I just went to Santa Fe. So now I do want to go to Santa Fe, and I could start with meeting those people, and they all seem really friendly there. Was it a really friendly town in general, or?
Oh my God, it was such a great time. I hadn't been to Santa Fe before, but it's just everybody's so nice. The music community, as you saw, everybody knows one another. We had a great time. So yeah, if you go to Santa Fe, just look up those folks, and I'm sure they'll roll out the red carpet for you.
It was interesting too, because one of the people that you met was talking about how the music scene there is actually really rather new. I mean, when we looked at the music scene in Nepal or India, or even the East Coast of the US, where there's hundreds of years of history of a certain style of music evolving from this. Here it's fascinating because it doesn't have as old of a music culture, so it's a little bit more of a free, open exploration, creation thing, which I thought was interesting. I mean, I like both styles, but it's an interesting juxtaposition to when we were in the Appalachian region, and of course the Appalachian music has evolved over so long in Nepal and India, and I guess we're going to hear about Greece coming up.
Yeah.
That's a long tradition, so Santa Fe has its own unique flavor here.
Yeah, and I really have to say thanks to Michael Kott. He's a musical shaman. He is one of the smartest people that I know. He arranged that trip for us. We didn't really have an interview per se with him. He gave us a little voiceover and introduced us to all those people, and the wonderful cello performance in the violin shop. I just really love it.
And I love his voice. He has a really good narration voice.
He's narrating this audiobook I'm doing. More on that later. But
Soon.
yeah, but there is a part 2 coming up. We continue the interview with Laurianne, some more music with her and Michael, another song from Westin, another song from Robin. So anyway, check that out, part 2, if you'd like. Otherwise, thanks so much for tuning in. We're just enjoying ourselves, as you can tell, doing these interviews, talking with musicians from around the world. So thanks very much, everybody. And thank you, Tara.
All right. Thank you. And if you like this episode, make sure to check out the other ones from all of the other countries and places.
Yes, Oh my gosh. Yeah, we're on a roll. All right.
Woo!